But there's an MEA meet happening right now. Let's just listen in to Secretary Vijay Gokhale.
President Trump welcomed this idea. He spoke about the work that American companies are now doing in 5G. He specifically referred to Silicon Valley and said that since he had taken over as President of the United States, he has focused on this area, on developing America's core capabilities in technology, that he looked forward to working with us. And it was again decided to continue the conversation through meetings at technical level as well as at the level of the Secretaries of State and the External Affairs Minister on our side and the technical ministers on both sides. So essentially the Prime Minister's real focus was on Make in India and the potential that this huge technology has in that goal or that objective of his. There was a discussion on trade. Both sides aired their concerns. Both sides spoke about the interests of the other side. And what was agreed was that the trade ministers of both countries would meet at an early date and would try and sort out these issues. The Prime Minister did mention in particular that we had taken some action after the GSP was revoked, that was now something that had already happened, and we should now look forward and we should see how we can resolve some of these issues. President Trump, of course, welcomed this idea. Both USTR Lighthizer and their Treasury Secretary Mnuchin were in the room. And so what we expect now is an early meeting. At the level will still be decided whether it will be at the level of Commerce and Industry Minister and USTR, or we will first have technical discussions. It is an issue to be decided. But essentially it was a very productive discussion. It was a very open discussion, and we will take things forward. Given the time constraint, of course, thereafter on defense issues there was very little discussion. We highlighted the potential for cooperation in this area, and this was welcomed by President Trump. But because both leaders had other commitments to go to, the Prime Minister is currently at the BRICS Leaders Summit meeting. There was a very truncated and very brief discussion on this. So this, in a sense, was what happened at the two meetings this morning. Thank you.
Let's take two questions.
Yes, I can take a couple of questions, yes.
Just two questions. Manish, please go ahead.
I'm following up with the Wall Street Journal, and should I?
Can you bring this?
Right now with the Wall Street Journal. So on trade, you're saying it was a very constructive discussion. Were there any indications of what kind of concessions or what kind of expectations the sides have going into these ministerial talks? And quickly, if I may, on 5G, was there any mention of Huawei or any conditions regarding that?
Yeah. You know, on trade issues, negotiations are not done at the level of leaders. So neither time nor the level permitted any discussion on concrete issues. The idea was to clear the air and then to set the agenda for discussions in resolving trade matters. And to that, in that direction, both leaders have directed officials to now move forward. And I think that's where we found this discussion very open and very productive. On 5G, as I said, the main issue as far as we were concerned was to bring the focus on how we can leverage our market, our capabilities in design and technology, software development, and our desire to make in India, how to make 5G a part of this. And that was the Prime Minister's focus. And President Trump, in turn, welcomed this because his main idea was to say that the United States has the capacity, it has the capability, it has the human resources. Silicon Valley is working on it. Let me see how India and the United States can work together in terms of business, not in terms of governments, in terms of how business and industry can be put together. I think that was the focus, and it appears to be an exciting new area in which I think India and the United States can work together.
Manish, please go ahead. This is the last one.
Manish Shah, India Rights Network. So there were two major contentious issues. One was on S-400D and one was on Iran. The second one was Iran. What is the big picture message coming out of this talks? Have you been able to figure out a mechanism that these issues will not impact the larger relationship in the near term? And what is the way out on S-400 particularly?
Yeah. Let me be clear about this. No one issue is going to impact on the larger strategic relationship between India and the United States. This is a relationship which is deep, which is broad. We have some issues, we will work through them, but no one issue is going to in any way have any impact. The S-400 issue was not discussed. There is an issue of time constraint here. You were in Delhi when this matter was addressed by our External Affairs Minister in the press conference with Secretary of State Pompeo. So that's where it stands. No discussion took place. On Iran, the primary focus was on how we ensure stability in that region. Instability affects us in many ways, not just in terms of our energy needs, but in terms of the very large diaspora that we have in the Gulf. 8 million Indian citizens in the Gulf, and economic interests. So essentially the two leaders agreed that they and their officials will continuously remain in touch to ensure that the region remains stable. And I think that's in our interest, that's in the interest of the United States and in the interest of the region. So that's what I can say.
So we have time constraints, so we can't take any other question. Maybe in the evening. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.